Matters, FITARA, the Federal IT Acquisition Reform Act. Last month, it passed the House with bipartisan support as part of the 2014 defense bill. The goal? To increase the accountability and authority of federal CIOs. Earlier this week, I sat down with one of the bill's co-sponsors, House Oversight and Government Reform Committee Chairman Darrell. I remember the 1990s, a similar bill known as the Clinger-Cohen Act passed in the Senate, later the eGov Act. How is this new bill different?
Well, it really builds on Clinger-Cohen. That bill decided that we had to professionalize the IT workforce, and people understand that you have a CIO, somebody who's in charge of these programs, who's in charge of the budget of spending on IT. Except it turns out that except for one CIO, none of them have budget authority. What our bill does is it takes the intent of Clinger-Cohen, modernizes it, and brings financial responsibility to these chief officers.
How much money will it save U.S. taxpayers?
Saving money is not the primary goal of the bill. Budgets have been created, $81 billion plus accountable for IT. What we want is we want to get the value out of that $81 billion. There's a plenty big backlog of good IT programs that, if implemented, would save money, would reduce waste, would allow for greater accountability, even make our war fighters safer in the field. What we want is that $81 billion to go further and do what it was intended to do.
You have a key ally in this effort in Representative Gerry Conley. He's urged the White House to sign this bill, provided it passes in the Senate. You and Conley don't always see eye to eye. Talk about that relationship.
Well, I think when it comes to creating real opportunities for efficiencies, Gerry and I can work together. Often what he finds himself representing the federal workforce rather than the efficiency and effectiveness of the federal workforce. In this case, we're on the same line, and I think he's acting much more like his predecessor, Tom Davis, who always was looking for ways to make the federal government do its job better.
Earlier this month at a public IT event, Conley criticized the Office of Management and Budget. He says OMB dropped the ball on IT reform. Do you agree with him?
They did, but it's not uncommon. You know, OMB always says, let us handle it, we have the authority, and then you get a new OMB director and he or she starts over with the same line. I think Gerry and I both have learned that Congress has a role, and the role is we pass a law, it outlives any OMB director.
Won't this change, in essence, cause some friction between the CIOs and the appropriations within each of those 16 agencies?
I think it's important to understand that Congress creates appropriations, puts money into a budget, and routinely takes input as to reuse of money. And that reprogramming right now, Congress looks and says, who actually decides where the reprogramming request comes from? It'd be very good to have the CIOs at the table saying, this is the reprogramming authority I need, why I need it, and what it's for, and be accountable.
Early on, some software companies were concerned that this act has a bias for open source solutions, meaning free software that will help the government save money. Have those concerns been addressed?
We have addressed it, but we haven't backed off. Open source, writing software that can be used again and again and built on, is a fundamental point that I think the government has to get to. Often we assume that if we buy proprietary software from somebody else, that somehow it's better. But the truth is, we've often paid for that proprietary software, and when we want it modernized, we pay again, and when a different part of government wants it, we pay again. What we'd like to do is, to the greatest extent possible, build on software that we don't have to pay for again. We have good support from the industry for it. We understand there are some who would like to see this narrowly construed, but we think it's a real money saver. It also means that people will build on the same base of reliable software.
Congressman Darrell, we'll turn from tech to